Okay, I believe we are ready to go. Okay, Coach Callie V here with Callie V Softball, and I'm going to be doing some more things technology-wise today. So I'm going to be doing my podcast at Callie V Softball Podcast. You can find it on all the platforms. Yep, another softball podcast. But today I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to record while I'm also recording a video so I can start uploading this stuff on my YouTube channel. And here's another thing about me. I do not go back and edit. I'm all for failing forward. And this is just me. Like, this is me. This is who I am. And softball is a big part of my life, but first comes God, then comes my family, and then softball. All right, so let's get into this. This kind of gives you guys like a back seat into what really truly happens. Oh, and I got to give props where props are given. This is one of my favorite cups from one of my gal pals. She's in my girl gang. It says, "Miss your face. P.S. Thinking of you." Thanks, girl. I actually try to drink out of this every time I do a podcast. I don't know. It's just something. It's like empowering. I don't know. All right. So let's get into this. Whew. You guys ready? I'm like, I might have an audience at some point. I don't know. Okay. What's up, guys? It is Coach Callie V. Yep, another softball podcast. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about working with the beginner pitcher. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be a two-parter. I'm going to first parter, work with the beginner pitcher, and the second part, because that is really good English, I'm going to be talking about working with the experienced pitcher, 2 years or more. We're talking 12U, 14U, 16U, all the way to the college level. You guys ready to get into the grid of this? Let's go. Okay, so now I'm stopping. And I'm going to add a little background music to that. I always add background music because the neighborhood I live in, like, it's super cute and all that jazz, but you can hear cars sometimes driving by. And unfortunately, sometimes my dog likes to bark. So let's just do this. I'm listening to what it's going to sound like. I like that. All right. So we are going to add that one. And now I'm going to get into the grit of this. And I'm going to set this up so I can focus on you guys, the audience that's listening and looking. Like I said, no edits here, y'all. Straight up Callie V. Like, literally, like, came from the gym. Haven't had a shower yet today. Still getting there. But this is more important right now. All right, so let's get into this. So introduction to beginner pitcher. Oh, and if you guys are wondering, I use Anchor for my podcast. So it's pretty cool. It's a little app in my phone. Okay. Now I'm going to start recording again. Okay. All right. Now that I got your guys' attention, okay, I said beginners. A lot of you guys perked up. So let's get into the grit of the beginning pitching place. Let's talk about this. Okay. All right. So let's just start with the 7-year-old little girl. Okay. She comes to her mother. She's like, "I want to start pitching." Mom's like, "I don't know how to help you." Dad's like, "Let's go out and throw the ball around." Okay. Super awesome that you parents are helping out. I love that. There is so much knowledge out there to get your daughter started. If that is something that you would like to talk one-on-one with me about, I can help you. In fact, I may even host an event where I get to talk to parents as well as coaches that don't know a lot about pitching. And this is my way of just giving back and helping you guys ignite that fire in these little girls. So keep it super simple. All right. I think the biggest thing I see a lot of is, and I noticed this with my boys when they were little and they were playing like t-ball and stuff, they would get up to bat and they had this big audacious swing. And I mean, it literally looked like a major league swing. You know, it looked like one of the greats up there swinging. And you have to find quality in that. You can't tell your daughter, let alone your client, your young client that you're working with, Nope, that's wrong. We've got to change all that. First of all, let's celebrate the small things. The fact that that little girl had enough courage to show you how she can pitch, like, oh, straight to my heart, straight to my coach heart, right? But the moment you tell them, nope, that's not right, you're taking a piece of that courage away, not just in softball, but in the grand scheme. You actually take it away from them later on in life. So they create a shy space, they go out in the world. I mean, guys, coaching and doing it intentionally correct goes so much further than just the softball field. Okay. So you have this little girl and she gets up and she does all these crazy things because maybe one of the pitchers that was killing it at the College World Series has this like signature approach. Okay, Monica Abbott, let's just talk about her. She has a signature approach. I have seen pitchers try to do this. I have seen male pitchers try to do this. Y'all ain't got nothing on Monica. No, nobody is ever going to be able to do that. Okay. It's not a one size fits all. It's a fits Monica's size. Okay. So with that, when you see your little pitchers do that, compliment them. That took a lot of courage, right? High five them and say, okay, I love like how much energy you're putting into this. Do you care if we make some adjustments? It's going to help you have a little bit more balance, stability, right? We want to talk about foundation. Foundation is one of the big words we want to use consistently with our beginner pitchers all the time. Okay. So your pitcher says, yes, coach, please show me. All right, well, let's get to the mound. Let me show you the 3 ways as of right now, unless they change again, which I think they're getting ready to change again. The 3 ways you can be on the mound. Okay. As far as your feet, then go into the legs. Make sure that your little pitcher is in her legs, right? Athletically standing, not straight kneed, and not rocking back to where she's actually locking her knees. Okay. That is a knee surgery waiting to happen. It may take like 10 years to get there, but it'll happen. Okay, so that happens. And then let's get to the hips. Let's get to the shoulders. Let's make sure. So we use the term stacked a lot in pitching and hitting. It's just like that back leg. When we're hitting, we want to have that stacked approach. It's the same thing with pitching. So let's talk about the front stack. So keep it super simple. Let's make sure that the shoulders and the hips are stacked in the direction towards the catcher. Okay. Keep your verbiage short and simple, but always explain the why. So something that I say a lot, and I do this at all my practices, even team practices, is what is the quickest way? You have 3 spots, A, B, C. Okay. What is the quickest way from A to C? And right away, you'll see the girls logically decide, and they're making a choice quickly. And it's like a life skill, like this little life skill you're teaching them. So they're going to say, well, you've got to connect directly with B, and then B has to connect directly with C. Now, if they say front around B to get to C, then you know, okay, we're going to have to go this direction and talk about the simplicity of A to B to C. It's that simple. It's nothing to fret about. Okay. So you tell your little pitcher, by keeping your hips and your shoulders to your target, you're also going to make sure your right foot or your left foot, depending on if you are a left-handed pitcher or a right-handed pitcher. Okay, so take note of this if you are working with beginner pitchers and this is like something you're learning, or maybe you're a coach and you're listening to this and you want to like help your little pitcher out. Maybe you're a parent and you want to help your daughter out. Okay, so make sure, so I'm going to use my hands, okay, as the feet. Those of you that are listening to this and not watching this, I'm going to make sure you guys can see this. Okay. So if you are a right-handed pitcher, your push foot is always going to be your throwing side. All right. So you want to make sure that your toes are pointed towards your target. Your hips are pointed towards your target. Your shoulders are pointed towards your target. What is the target? The catcher. All right. And it's the same, but different for the left side. Okay. Just a different side. But the left foot then, because that's the throwing side, is going to be the push foot for the left-handed pitcher. Again, keeping her toes pointed to the target, hips pointed to the target, shoulders pointed towards the target. Y'all almost got a New York accent out of me because that was a lot to say, target. So, okay. So real quick, before I move on from this, I want to talk about the knees. So anywhere from, and I mean, I honestly, the youngest I have ever worked with a pitcher is 8 years old. And there's a reason for that. You want to keep it simple, but at the same time, you want to construct a solid foundation. And sometimes they're not strong enough for a long time to do that. So if we always focus on the knees being lined up with the target, we have to be really careful with that, because young kids in general, not just female athletes, but young kids, they will get knock-kneed, like where their knees bow in, okay? And I actually have a couple 11-year-old pitchers who do this. So this is something that I have to be super intentional about when I'm working with them, like getting down to the knee level, you know, taking their knees and moving them where they need to be so they can feel that. This is where I highly recommend resistance band training. And you can do little drills with resistant bands, like the ones that go around your legs, and some sliding discs. Okay. Follow me on Instagram. I post a lot of my practices, my clinics and stuff. And I post live video of what I'm doing with athletes. And if you have any questions, if you're like, hey coach, I saw this post on this date, take a screenshot, send it to me. Can you break this drill down for me? I got you. Just ask, you will get the answer. I promise. Okay. So before you get hung up on making sure the knees are going the same direction, keep in mind, how old is your athlete? How strong is your athlete? Okay. And now if she's little, there's a good chance that she's going to be knock-kneed. So this is a really good place to introduce the vocabulary that's going to be with her throughout her entire career. Start building that vocabulary foundation. Okay. So say she's 8 years old and you see her knees are coming in. Let's just, I'm not even going to give her a fake name, but just say, hey girl, I need you to make sure that your knees are going out. So I need you to feel yourself push on the outside of your legs. Okay. So a lot of times when we're learning how to squat properly, these are things that we work on because we don't want to be knock-kneed when we're squatting. Okay. However, when we are knock-kneed when we're squatting, that also identifies the weaker parts of our legs. Okay. So when your pitcher is knock-kneed and they're young, they're weak. Keep it super simple. So just keep using the verbiage with them. Hey, get your legs out, and then make sure they're not tight roped. So for those of you that are listening, it's exactly what it means. You do not want, if it's a right-handed pitcher, you do not want her push foot and her pull foot. Okay. So her right foot and her left foot, you do not want them right behind each other, like she's on a tightrope. Okay. A lot of kids that drop into a lunge, this is what they think the movement is after they watch it. It is not. Okay. So again, go back, put your little kid on the mound, say, I need you to get your feet as wide as your hips. Okay. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to go a little bit wider. This is where you have to teach them. Okay. Move your feet in a little bit more. Okay. And then be relatable. Like, if you know that your kid is in a grade where they're learning angles, talk about the 90-degree, the 45-degree angles. A lot of times for me, I always talk about the pole foot, the plant foot. Okay. It's always going to be the glove side. I talk about not having a 12 o'clock foot when they plant, not having a 3 o'clock foot when they plant. So this is literally, we're talking time. So I tell them to have a 2:30 front foot. All right. Which is a 45. Okay. So this is just something that I love to use. And when I give my kiddos this visual, it's like everything just comes together. So tell them when they're working in their open position, K position, whatever verbiage you use in your state, it's literally the point where you have your pole foot planted, your back foot is sturdy, you're stacked, right? And you're either going to be going all the way from the leg and to reach all the way to track, or you're starting at the track. Okay. So that is the open position for a pitcher when they're working a drill. I tell them, I want you to pretend that your front foot, your pull foot, again, for a lefty, it's always going to be glove side. And for a righty, it's always going to be glove side. Okay. So for a righty, it's going to be their left foot. For a lefty, it's going to be the right foot. And I can bet you I'm going to get myself twisted at some point in this episode. So just bear with me. Okay. So imagine their foot is on the face of a clock. Tell them to put their foot at 2:30. I love this because this takes connection, right? It takes connection from the classroom and it takes connection from your athlete. And all of a sudden they're like, whoa, you just pulled something out of school and you put it into my softball. That's crazy. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to go here. I'm going to be bold. 10 times out of 10, that kiddo is going to remember those movements when you connect. Number one, what they're learning in a classroom, and number two, what they're learning on the field. Okay. And remember, we're working with the beginner pitcher. Okay. So foundational words are huge. Foundational words are the words that are going to go with them all the way throughout their playing career, all the way to a professional league. There is a professional pitcher who pitches in Canada. And guess what she does every time she gets on the mound? This is a foundational word. You guys ready for this? Power line. Homegirl gets up there and draws a power line with her foot. She's professional. Ladies and gentlemen, she's playing at the top level and she still draws a power line. Now, just a little like peek, when I do talk about the experienced pitcher, I am going to talk about how it doesn't matter how experienced you are, you should always be going back to the basics. It should never be just going out and throwing gas and throwing all your pitches and calling it a day. You have to condition your body in order to continue the memory of the pitch. If you do not, you will reverse condition and you actually will put a new memory into your memory bank. And you will, for instance, if you have a pitcher who throws a rise ball and a screwball, they will end up crisscrossing those. It happens. So you have to be super intentional on your basic drills. All right. So had to drink some more tea. It's so good. Okay. Back to the beginner. So 2:30 o'clock, because that is proper English. You're going to have your pitcher put her foot there. And that's going to be a connection for her. She's going to remember that term. Now, this is something that wasn't taught to me when I was a kid. And this is my job as a coach, is to not live in my playing days, right? And how many of you guys have had those coaches that always say, well, back in my day, yo, homie, we are not in your day, okay? Like, even I feel this way. Some coaches will say that, and I'm like, no, it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work anymore, okay? So with that being said, the whip, so I do a lot of whip work with my beginners because I want them to know the foundation, the importance of always leaning. Excuse me, I'm going to plug my computer in here. For those of you listening, I am actually recording this. So like video wise, so it's going to be up on my YouTube. There we go. Okay. So I want them to understand the importance of the elbow, the whip, right out of the gate, foundation. There was a lot of like controversy on the whip about 10 years ago. People liked it, people didn't like it. And as I began to understand it by doing it myself, it clicked, it made sense. It's something very easy to understand when your athlete gets the whip down and then you go to introduce the changeup. Well, the changeup is the only pitch that you lead with the hand. Every other pitch is led with the elbow for the whip, right? Here's a fun fact. A screwball is the equivalency to a curveball in baseball. So screwball is actually a pitch that an experienced pitcher will learn because of the overuse of the elbow in that particular pitch. Hence the hitchhike, or another pitcher in my pitching community says her coach used to tell her to poke the alligator in the eye. Okay. So whatever words you need to use, this is the fun part about being a coach and starting with those beginner pitchers is whatever word you need to use that gets them to click, put it out there. They're never going to know unless you say, okay, you're either going to hitchhike, obviously they're going to be experienced, or if they're throwing a screwball, or you're going to poke the alligator in the eye. Which one do you want? Which one is going to call you back to your foundational move? Boom. Okay, figure it out. So beginner pitchers, foundational vocab words, build on that. Okay, break the pitch down. A warm up from beginning to collegiate to professional level should always be, you're going to start with the wrist, you're going to go to the open, you're going to go to some more leg action. You're literally progressing, you're building on that pitch. Okay, you're going to do walkthroughs. You're going to get all, like I tell my littles, I'm like, you're going to get all the bugs out. You're going to get all the bugs out. Okay, now I have this crazy concept, and I believe I came upon it. Gosh dang, I have to think about this. Yeah, it had to have been 10 years ago. But I had a pitcher who wasn't getting enough throwing time, like prior to the game. So she would go in and probably walk the first 2 innings, a lot of batters, right? So once I got down to the bottom of it, after I did some investigation, I found out that she was literally like, after the team did their pregame warm-up, like the hitting, throwing, and then they started taking grounders, she was literally, once she was done taking grounders, then she got to go warm up. So we're talking what, 5 minutes, if that. Okay. So what I started doing during that time with her, as well as other pitchers, is I started keeping track of how many pitches it took to quote unquote, get the bugs out. Okay. Remember, I'm speaking to the beginner pitcher, and it was roughly 32 pitches. After 32 pitches, and this is after their wrist snaps, after their open or their Ks, whatever verbiage you teach. Okay. For me, it's open and we work whips. And then after some push, pull. Okay. And then after front walkthroughs, they do 2 front walkthroughs and they do 3 full on walkthroughs. Then they go into pitching 30. So right around 32 pitches, so I'll let them push past, obviously. 32 pitches, they started throwing strikes. They were ready. Now, I also have to watch the clock. How long is this going to take? Okay, so if you're coach and you know, like, crap, I am not giving my girls enough time to warm up. So-and-so is going in the game and walking all these people, and I feel really bad because, truth be told, I'm literally ruining her confidence. Coaches, you either build it or you rob it. Which one do you want to do with confidence in those kids, right? Okay, so set them up to succeed. Now, if by chance they fail, know that you did everything as a coach to set them up for success. And in that moment, they chose to fail. That is okay. All right. It doesn't mean you did a terrible job. So this is where I want you to guard your boundaries as a coach, making sure that, let's say you have a little pitcher that only has 2 pitches. Let's say she has a fastball and a changeup. She's going to run through each one 5 times each. Okay. And if you have a little bit more time, add 10 each. Okay. Now, if you have a pitcher who has 5 or more, you're going to run through each one 3 times. And that's 3 wrist snaps, 3 whips, 3 push, pulls. Okay. And honestly, for those, the push, pull, that's a leg drill. So I don't necessarily focus on all the pitches. I allow my pitcher to start to build up to the mound. Does that make sense? Okay, so their wrist is ready to go. Their whip is ready to go. Now we're going to activate those legs, get them awake. Then we're going to do a side walkthrough, which calls our body to feel everything. You are not focusing on speed. You are focusing on noodle-like arm, a loose arm, whatever verbiage you use. Fun fact here, there's always a little bend in your arm when you throw. Bottom line, okay? So you want to make sure that your pitchers are feeling that. And then on the walkthrough behind the mound, that's where they get to dig in and they get to really like almost show off. Like, because come on, you do it too as the coach. You watch the pitcher warm up, the players watch the pitcher. And when they see this girl gas, like basically running, but she's technically walking into the mound or walking into her place to pitch from as she's warming up on the side, it comes in a little bit faster. Okay. Then get her on the mound. From there, you have 30 pitches. 30 pitches. Do the math. If you have a pitcher who has 2 pitches, she is going to throw 15 fastballs and 15 changeups. Okay. If you have a pitcher who has let's say you have 30, let's say she has 3 pitches. She's going to throw 10 fastballs, 10 changeups, 10 rise balls. Just break it down, try to keep it even. Now, if you can't keep it even at 30, push 32. But do your diligence in building that warm-up time for your pitcher, because I guarantee you, if your pitcher is working with a pitching coach outside of your practice in your games with her, that pitching coach, they should be building a warm-up plan for them to construct. And if you are not giving that pitcher the time that has been built into her to build to her place of confidence, you are not doing your job as a coach. So let's talk time. How long is it going to take? 30 minutes. I've done it over and over and over again. So what does that look like? You have to make sure your pitcher and your catcher is batting first. Okay, if you guys are going to do any hitting, who's ever going to pitch that game, you usually have 2, right? You have 1 to start and you have 1 to come in if there's problems, whatever. You have 2 catchers. Those 4 go first. All right, then it's gear up. Let's go. Let's get to moving. Now, you might be thinking, well, what about when we take grounders? What about our pitcher? What about our catcher when they take grounders? Da, 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 all this stuff. You know what? Here's the deal. If you are set up, it's going to take 4 of those girls at least 15 minutes to get through hitting and geared up. You're going to have about 6 minutes of gray space. That's when you just say, hey, so-and-so, 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 go cut in line. Let's get some grounders to you. Let's work it out. Boom. You've got your pitcher efficiently warmed up. Not only has she thrown all her pitches and she's gotten the bugs out, but she's also received a couple balls off the ground in preparation to take a ball right off the bat. Okay, so I'm going to drink some more tea. All right. My voice is super cracky right now. I usually try to not drink tea when I'm doing a podcast, but I kind of sound like Greg Brady in some points, like going through puberty. I don't know. Okay, so beginner pitchers are fun to work with. They are not intimidating. Don't be, how do I say this? Don't be closed off to the aspect of taking advice from other coaches. It is one thing to sit back and watch what a coach does, but it is a whole nother thing to actually approach that coach and be like, hey, coach, can you give me any tips on how should I tell my pitcher to stand on the mound? Things like that. You would be surprised when you approach a coach who truly cares and is in alignment with he or she's intention to build a human and not just a softball player, right? They're a part of the village, okay? That coach is going to give you a plethora amount of information to help you be a better coach for your pitchers, okay? So let's talk going back to the mound. There are 3 ways to approach this. There is one video that I love to send parents and I love to send coaches, and Amanda Scarborough, she actually came out with it like, I want to say it was 2 weeks before it even dropped, before the first of the year that the change happened. And she went into depth explaining the 3 ways of standing on the mound. So you can have both feet on, your push and your pull. You can have your push foot on, your pull foot off. You can have both feet on and then come back. Now, with that being said, I believe it is PGF. I could be wrong, but I believe that tournament does not allow you to have both feet on and step off. So you can either keep both feet on or be stepped off from the get-go. Okay. So it's really weird. I don't understand that if it was released all the way down from little league to the professional league, that there are 3 ways of doing it, but certain organization, like softball organizations, not teams, but like USSSA, PGF, all these things, they don't adopt it. So it's super confusing. So as a pitching coach, I have received the text, hey coach, I can't do this. All right, make the adjustment. Boom, make the adjustment. Or hey coach, found out 2 weeks ago, I can't do it. All right, we're going to be working on a new way to adjust to the pitch. It's that simple. So don't overthink it. Don't think that you misinformed anybody. Just be prepared to teach your pitcher how to make the adjustment. Okay. So for beginners, this is huge. Okay. This is again, another part of their pitching story that's going to follow them. So as they're learning to throw a fastball, they start hitting consistent spots. They're throwing to the glove. I like to keep it super simple as a pitching coach and keep my pitcher's eyes on the glove. Now, there are pitching coaches out there that like to stress on the importance of where it's at on the plate. That is not my job as a pitcher. My job as a pitcher is to hit my catcher's glove. Who has plate coverage? I teach it. The catcher does. If the catcher wants it to come across the plate in a certain way, they've got to set their glove up to receive the ball in that position. Okay, so keep it simple. Like I said, that's how I do it. Other pitching coaches may do it differently. We've seen the home plates that have like the different colors. I don't really want to look at the colors. I want to make sure I'm literally hitting the glove when I'm throwing. If my catcher wants to look at that stuff, have at it. But I'm going to keep it simple because I have a bazillion things to manage, and looking at where the colors fall on the plate, I don't need to. Bottom line. Okay. So keep it simple. So when you're working with the littles and they start hitting that consistent strike, this is a really good place to start introducing the changeup. Okay. Start showing them the grip. Explain to them more skin on the ball, the slower the ball is going to be, so I literally right now, for those of you that are listening on my podcast, I have a ball in my hand. You can hear it. So when I say more skin on the ball, you literally want to take your athlete's hand and just get their entire hand around that ball to where there's no space within the palm of their ball to the ball. Okay. Now a fastball, you're going to have a space. A rise ball, you're going to have a space, right? Okay. It's just the way it is. More skin on the ball, the slower it's going to go. All right. Now you start working this in as their confidence is growing in their fastball because they're hitting consistent strikes. You start working these flips in. And by flips, I mean, you're just literally like at the wrist, that first progression drill. You're just working the wrist. And here's the cool thing about a changeup. There's no wrist snap. You just literally get to the hip and just boom. You want to keep that wrist as flat as you can. Okay. So you teach that, then you move it back a little bit. Then I want you to really pay attention to your pitcher's body language. This is where you're going to know as a coach if she is ready to go to the mound. Okay. Now, there have been some pitchers in the past that have been upset because they weren't hitting their strike. And at that point, that was also a good opportunity to kind of like no, we're going to focus on this. So there's two ways to introducing the changeup at that level. You either do it when their body language is on point, they're super excited, they're owning it, or you do it in a moment where they're like, I can't throw a strike to save my life. That's when you say, you know what, kiddo, we're going to move on to this. This is going to be a good little break for your brain. We're going to build right here. Okay. Whatever you do with a beginner pitcher, keep it fresh, keep it functioning, and keep it fun. The 3 F's: fresh, functioning, and fun. You do that, your pitcher is going to stay engaged. This is something that does not leave you as a pitcher, like at the experience level, collegiate level, professional level. You should still be having fun. You should still be having functional drills, and you should still be, I just went blank. Oh my gosh. I know, you're just like, coach. No, I got distracted because I honestly thought I was going to have to grab my little dog and be like, hey, shh, because all the dogs, like I started hearing my backyard dogs start barking. So, okay. So just make sure your pitchers are being engaged at whatever level. All right. So when they get to the mound, you start learning the changeup. This is where it gets really fun. Okay. Because 10 times out of 10, they're going to slow their arm down. All right. Now I just worked with a pitcher last night and I let her throw 3 really, really bad changeups. And it's that gray space. You want to see if they're going to stop and they're going to make that adjustment, because that's the goal. You want them to be able to adjust themselves on the mound. You don't want to have to call times every time they're struggling, right? Especially when they get older, like figure it out, yo. Okay. So she did it 3 times and I finally was like, okay, we got to talk. So I explained to her about leading with her hand, how she needs to stay big, but she also needs to remember to sell the pitch. Okay. So something that I like to say, I know this is kind of like corny, but for some reason it clicks. So how many of you guys have been to like the 99-cent store and you're like, I just need toilet bowl cleaner just to get me by until the next paycheck? All right. So you go in there, you get your toilet bowl cleaner, whatever, or maybe you need paper plates, right? And they're like the El Cheapo plates ever, like you're just like, whatever, I can get by. But because it's the 99-cent store, you come out with 15 things. I've been there, done that. Ask my husband all the time. Yes. So my best advice for that is wait until you want to buy 15 things and then go buy 15 things, because you literally just fell victim to the 99-cent store's change up. Okay. So with that being said, how do you sell your change up? It's got a 99-cent sticker on it. That's how you have to sell it. With that, your mechanics have to be just like your fastball. That means you cannot take 5 days to get your change up grip before you throw your change up. Because guess what? Super obvious, right? Super obvious that you're getting ready to throw a change up, especially if you're up in the count. Oh gosh. Okay. So you also have to incorporate that in your pitcher is the timing of the pitch change, like switch mechanic, like shift in our brain. So many things are going on. Keep it simple for them. Okay. All right. So last night went through that with my little pitcher and I was like, you know what? I'm going to video her and see what she does. And I was like, all right, throw a fastball, boom, right down the pipe. So good. Had a little bit of an inside corner on it. Like, I'm going to take that, right? I'm going to take that. That's a celebration. And I was like, all right, throw a changeup. She shifted right into her changeup with no hesitation and pulled it out. Like, boom, arm speed looked just like her fastball. Everything was on point. She was leading with her hand. Like, oh my goodness, I was so proud of her. So that kind of inspired this episode to talk to you guys about the beginners and keeping it simple. I think sometimes in life we tend to like go over the top and explain things way crazy. But for those of you that I'm currently coaching or have coached in the past, I am a metaphor crazy like person. Like I literally will use metaphors or use a word. And then once I see you like, oh, wait, then I'm like, that's your word. That's what we're using. Yes. Okay. That's what I do. So let's, for instance, just talking in the concept of, we were working cuts the other night at practice and it was like last week or something. And one of the girls, I was like, hey, you're calling for the ball, right? You're calling for the ball. Do you and your brother fight at home? Do you guys scream at home? And she's like, heck yeah, coach. And I was like, I need that kind of yell. So that right there was a metaphor. She was able to connect with it. Boom. What did we get out of that cut? Cut three. Like there was no question as to where to cut the ball. Bottom line, lined her little cutter up, left, right, left, right. Like that's what we need. So in pitching, let's take a circle change, for instance. This is a metaphor that I've learned from other coaches and I love it because I connect with it. So you know what? I'm willing to go on a limb here and say it connects with other little girls, even older girls. But that circle change, when you come through that throw zone, and the throw zone is after the point of release, okay, where your arm comes up, that's the throw zone. So your throw zone on that circle change is going to be like you're drinking a glass of water. Like what? Okay. Let's go even more. Let's go even more metaphorically speaking. A rise ball. Y'all, this is the oldest one in the book. Everybody uses it and I love it, but it is literally turn the doorknob. Turn the doorknob. You have your rise ball grip and you turn the doorknob. How do we turn a doorknob? I'm not talking like one of the horizontal ones. Like I have, like you literally like open like this, like, sorry, I know you guys are listening to this. So let's take the horizontal handles that, usually have the nice little like bumps on it and they're all froofy and stuff. And you have to grasp it with all 4 fingers or one finger and just kind of pull down. That is not turn the doorknob that we're talking. I am talking like the old school circle doors that we have to turn the doorknob, turn the doorknob, turn the doorknob. Where does that transaction take place on a rise bowl? At the hip? No, ma'am. It happens right on the backside. You've got to start that early, just like a change up. You can't make your flip change flip right at your hip. You've got to make that transaction sooner. Okay. So love metaphors. So coaches, if you are working with beginner pitchers, or maybe you're a coach who's learning how to work with pitchers in general, just keep it simple. Think of metaphors. Think of how their body is moving throughout the day, and then connect that to something that they're doing in their pitch. Another good one for littles, and I highly recommend that you use this for 3 seconds, but smash the bug. Okay. I understand the concept, but when you have a 14-year-old who is still smashing the bug, she is then at that point over rotating. Okay. So it's good to teach like a little girl, 4 or 5 years old, who's learning how to utilize her own movement in her hips, that concept. But once you do it and you see that she gets it, take the words out and start introducing, all right, sis, I need you to turn your hip, turn your hip, turn your hip. Then you're going to create less of an over rotation. Okay. So be careful with that metaphor. All right. So coaches, if you guys have any questions, maybe you're working with a beginner pitcher, parents, maybe your daughter started to pitch and you don't know where to start, I am here to help you. Beginner pitchers, it's one of my favorites. It's revitalizing. It kind of reminds you like how fun it is and how different everyone is, and nobody is going to be coached the same. And that's the beauty in coaching. Like, I think when I was growing up, there was the concept of everybody was taught the same and everybody was coached the same. And then 20 years later, they're finding out people don't receive things the same way. Just like if I tell you all this stuff, you're going to receive it one way, but the next person who listens to this is going to receive it another way. They're either going to be like, oh, she's right on point, or, oh, this lady's an idiot. Like, I really don't care. Like, I've been doing this for almost 24 years. It works. Okay. I have proof to the product. It's a good concept. Okay. Using your metaphors with your pitchers helps them understand what their body is doing, and as well as commanding their body into doing that movement. Okay. So if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Now, like I said in the beginning, this was going to be a 2-parter. So stay tuned, because I'm going to have one. I'm going to have an episode specifically dedicated to the experienced pitcher, and that is the pitcher that's been pitching 2 years or longer. This is the tricky one. I'm going to tell you right now, sometimes working with those experienced pitchers is a little bit more tiring, because they've been practicing bad mechanics over and over again. So another reason why I love the beginner pitcher is because you can establish those foundational words that they need to know, but also the foundational mechanics that are always going to bring them back to the basics. Boom. All right. If you guys have any questions, please ask. Follow me on Instagram. I have a lot of drills that I put out there. I just did a beginners clinic and an experience clinic. I'm getting ready to this month run another beginners clinic as well as a progression clinic. So if my pitchers show up for all 4 days in that progression clinic, they're going to get something pretty awesome from me. Plus they get a price discount. So there's a lot of things I like to give my pitchers, but if I can get pitchers committed for 4 days, oh my goodness. Progression, progression, progression over perfection all day long. All right. I will talk to you guys soon. As always, I appreciate you guys for listening. Take care and God bless. All right. So thank you guys. I just pressed stop on that. And I just want to say thanks for being a part of my first YouTube video, basically when I was recording my podcast live. So if you guys have any questions, for real, you get through this, and maybe I didn't hit on something, maybe you were anticipating me to hit on something, please do not hesitate. You can find me at CallieVSoftball.com, and that is Callie, just like Sally, but with a K. All right. And it's there. Google it. I'm there. Contact me through there and we will get to the bottom of it. If you are a coach and you're looking to get educated, and maybe you have other coaches on your staff and you're like, yo, I'd really like to get some drills. Would you mind setting up some time? Is there anything, can we set up something maybe via Zoom and we can have like a little meeting? Hey, That's a great idea, coach. So just let me know. But I got to get off here. I eventually have to take a shower. I have kids that are in school. I still have to pick them up. And then I got my pitching academy tonight. So I'm super excited. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. God bless again. Take care.